Hey everybody, this is Tony, Tainted Lord A7, and here's part 28 of my CD collection. We're almost towards the end, so let's go straight to it. The first CD I'm going to show off is Fuo Galico in the album Dust of the Ages. Now, this is a really excellent folk metal album from a band from Italy. Their music on this album, at least, is mostly straightforward heavy metal with some folk metal elements integrated into the sound. But this is a solid folk metal album and definitely a album and band to check out. So yeah, this is Fuo Galico, Dust of the Ages, a very excellent folk metal album. Next up is Intros, World Inferno. Just a very solid death metal band. Yeah, just a very solid death metal band that plays that HM2 death metal sound that sounds just like early Dismember or early Entombed. And it's just so heavy and raw and aggressive, and it's just really solid and heavy. So if you want your HM2 death metal, you can't go wrong with Intros, World Inferno. Just a very solid heavy album. So that's Intros. So that's Intros, World Inferno. Good stuff. Next up is Breach of Trust, Songs of Dying Nation. This album is just like an alternative metal, alternative rock with a little bit of new metal thrown in from a Canadian band that wasn't around for too long back during the early 2000s. If I recall, this is their debut album. So if you're into that whole alternative rock, alternative metal with some bit of new metal thrown in from the early 2000s, Breach of Trust is definitely one of the better bands playing that sound back in the day. And Songs for Dying Nations is actually a really good album, an excellent debut. So yeah, Breach of Trust, Songs of Dying Nation. The next three albums is from the same band, and that band is none other than Black Sabbath and the album Paranoid. I don't think I need to go into detail who this band is. Everybody should know who this band is and what this album is. Just some really solid heavy metal from a classic old school band. So, yeah, Black Sabbath, Paranoid, good stuff, excellent stuff. Next up is Black Sabbath, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Yeah, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath, another classic album from this band. And the last Black Sabbath album that I have is Master of Reality by Black Sabbath. Again, another classic album that everyone should already know if you're into heavy metal, doom metal from way back when. So, yeah, Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. Okay, the next three bands, well, the next three albums, I should say, is from the same band. Yeah, the next three albums are from the same band. The first one is Alice in Chains, the self-titled album. A pretty underrated album, if I have to say. I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, but this is a really solid heavy metal, grunge rock inspired album. Very heavy and very enjoyable. So that's Alice in Chains in the self-titled album. Good stuff. Next up is Alice in Chains, Dirt, another classic album from Alice in Chains. Um, Yeah, it's just a solid heavy metal grunge rock classic from the early '90s, I believe. Yeah, don't we have anything else to say? This is just a classic album. Everybody should know this one. So, Alice in Chains, do it. And the last Alice in Chains album that I have is Rainier Fog. Yeah, Rainier Fog by Alice in Chains. One of their newer albums, and definitely an excellent album. If you're into like grunge rock, heavy metal, hard rock, this is a really good album to check out. So that's Alice in Chains, Rainier Fog, an excellent later date album in their discography. Okay, next band is Autumn Teals, The Hollowing. Now this album I haven't spun this album for a while, so I kind of forgot what they sounded like. But last time I remember it, it was like a neoclassical album that's like very soft, almost acoustic sounding. It has a very melancholic sound to it. I really need to re-listen to this album, but that's the last time I remembered it. But very good stuff, and if you're into some very sad and melancholic music, so yeah, Autumn Teals, The Hollowing. Okay, the next two albums are from the same band. The first one being Biohazard, State of the World Address, a really classic hardcore metal, rap metal album from the early '90s. You know, Biohazard is one of those bands that mixes um, rap, hardcore, and metal to come up with a really aggressive and heavy sound, and it's very apparent on this album. So yeah, Biohazard's State of the World Address, a really classic album from the '90s, and another classic from the early '90s by Biohazard is Urban Discipline. Yeah, Urban Discipline by Biohazard. Again, a really good fusion of hardcore, rap, and metal, but very heavy and aggressive, and definitely has a very early '90s sound. Very good stuff. This is just a classic. So yeah, Biohazard's Urban Discipline. Okay, next up is Brides of Destruction. Here Comes the Brides. A very underrated and overlooked heavy metal, glam metal, hard rock sounding album. Excuse me, let me say that again. This is just like a heavy metal, glam metal, hard rock sound from a band that doesn't get talked about too much. Brides of Destruction, Here Comes the Brides. It's just a really fun album if you love that sleazy, hard rock, heavy metal sound from the '80s. And yeah, this is just a really good album. So yeah, Brides of Destruction, Here Comes the Brides. Okay, the next up is all my Cure albums. The first one being The Cure, Blood Flowers. The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. The Cure, Pornography. Yeah, Pornography by The Cure. The Cure, The Head on the Door. Yeah, The Head on the Door by The Cure. The Cure, Wired Mood Swings. Yeah, Wired Mood Swings by The Cure. And the last album that I have from The Cure is Wish. Yeah, Wish by The Cure. So that's all my Cure albums. Well, that's all the albums that I have from The Cure. And now for the next band, and that's Disaster. Yeah, Disaster. Um, the Oath of an Iron Ritual. If you're into some very heavy, aggressive death thrash, you can't go wrong with Disaster in the album The Oath of an Iron Ritual. Very excellent album. Next up is Divine Heresy, Bringer of Plagues, a very heavy and aggressive album that's like very in your face and destructive, and like I said, very heavy and aggressive metal. So yeah, Divine Heresy, Bringer of Plagues. Next up is next up is 18 Vision and the self-titled album. Not a big fan of 18 Visions, but this self-titled album is very good. If you want some solid, straight to the point metalcore that's heavy and aggressive, you can't go wrong with this album. So yeah, 18 Visions. Yeah, 18 Visions and the self-titled album. Next up is Elven King, The Pagan Manifesto, a very good folk metal album that's very whimsical and a little bit happy sounding, but this is just some really good stuff, some really good folk metal. So yeah, Elven King, The Pagan Manifesto. Next up is Fozzy, All That Remains. Very solid heavy metal hard rock band fronted by none other than WWE's Chris Jericho. And this is probably the first album where they release original material, and it's a damn good one. Very solid heavy metal hard rock album. So, yeah, this is Fozzy, All That Remains. And the next one is Fozzy, the self titled album, which is the debut that only consists of mostly cover songs with one or two original songs. But these are some damn good cover songs that they've done. And this is just a fun album from Fozzy. A very a very good a very good debut album, even though it's mostly a covers album. So yeah, this is Fozzy's self-titled album. Okay, next up is Love Inc. Into the Night. Just a pretty good EDM, techno, electronic music album from the early 2000s. Okay, next up is all my Powerwolf albums. The first one being Blessed and Possessed. Yeah, Blessed and Possessed by Powerwolf. If you're into some very triumphant sounding heavy metal, power metal, you can't go wrong with Powerwolf. And this is a very good album from them. So that's Powerwolf, Blessed and Possessed. A very triumphant sounding heavy metal, power metal band. And a bit over the top, but they're just so much fun to listen to. Next up is Powerwolf, Interludium. yeah, Interludium by Powerwolf, another very solid album from them. Next up is Preachers of the Night. Yeah, Preachers of the Night by Powerwolf, another solid album from them. And the last Powerwolf album that I have is The Sacrament of Sin by Powerwolf. Again, another excellent album from Powerwolf. You can't go wrong with this band if you want some over the top, fun, heavy metal or power metal. So, yeah, Powerwolf, The Sacrament of Sin. Okay, next one up is Wangel. Yeah, Wangel, Speed and Violence. If you want to hear an album that's very 80s inspired, heavy metal, speed metal, done really well, definitely check out Wangel. Wangel is definitely an underrated band I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but this is a very good album if you want some 80s inspired heavy metal, speed metal. So, yeah, Wangel, Speed and Violence, excellent album. Okay, next up is Rectal Depravity, Pedocatholic Fornication. Um, a gore grind band whose music is very gross and disgusting sounding, and it's a pretty decent EP. If I haven't mentioned it, this is an EP, and it's like gore grind, death grind, very well done, and it's pretty decent. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, Rectal Depravity, Pedocatholic Fornication EP, a very fun little EP of grossness. Next up is Soil Redefined, a very solid hard rock uh, album. They started off like a new metal band, but Soil's Redefined is more of a hard rock album, but it's done really well, and I really enjoy this one. So yeah, Soil's Redefined, a very fun album. Okay, the last three albums are from the same band. The first one being Stone Sour, Come Whatever May, a very good hard rock heavy metal. Well, not heavy metal, but it definitely has some heavy metal moments on this album. But it's mostly like a hard rock album, but it's just a really good album. Very good stuff. So yeah, Stone Sour, Come Whatever May, a very good hard rock album with some heavy metal leanings. Stone Sour, Hydrograd, the latest album. And again, this is a pretty good hard rock album. Um, Not as good as Come Whatever May, but still a decent album. But yeah, Stone Sour, Hydrograd. And the last album I'm going to show off in this collection video is Stone Sour's self-titled debut album, which arguably, in my opinion, is the best album. It's mostly a hard rock album, but definitely has some aggressive metal leanings here and there, and can be pretty damn heavy if I have to say. And yeah, for a debut, this is some good stuff. So yeah, Stone Sour's self-titled album, a really good hard rock album with some heavy metal aggressive moments here and there. Definitely check it out. And that's part 28 of my CD collection. The next video is going to be the last part of my CD collection, so look forward to that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and look forward to my last part of my CD collection. Take care, and see you next time.